Imagine waking up one day, realizing that everything you've ever believed about success, failure, stress, and happiness was only half the truth. Not wrong, just incomplete. What if I told you that the lens you've been using to view your life might be distorting the reality you could actually live? See, there are moments in life, not dramatic, not loud, but quiet, almost invisible, where a shift in perspective can change everything. These aren't motivational quotes or cliches you find on a coffee mug. These are biological truths, psychological frameworks, and actionable lessons that can rewire your mindset, reshape your behavior, and unlock a version of yourself you've never met before. Let me be clear. Your brain, your nervous system, the way your body perceives stress, reward, and purpose, it's not fixed, it's adaptive. Neuroplasticity isn't just a fancy term, it means you're never stuck. Every day your mind is sculpting itself based on what you focus on. And the most powerful sculptor, perspective. One life lesson that changes everything is this: your brain does not distinguish between reality and deeply imagined experience. That means the way you think about your life literally becomes the chemistry of your life. When you ruminate on failure, your nervous system prepares for defeat. When you visualize growth, your biology aligns for progress. So perspective isn't just philosophical, it's physiological. It creates a feedback loop between your thoughts and your future. What you believe about challenge, about setbacks, about your own potential, those aren't just ideas. They're blueprints for how your brain and body operate under pressure. Another lesson: stress isn't always a signal to stop. Sometimes it's a compass pointing you toward growth. The greatest performers in the world, scientists, athletes, special forces, they don't eliminate stress. They lean into it. They reframe it. They train their nervous system to interpret stress as readiness. That's not a mindset trick. That's literal reconditioning of how your brain interprets adrenaline and cortisol. You can do that too, but only if you stop viewing discomfort as a threat and start seeing it as information. Third, and this is essential, action precedes motivation. You don't wait until you feel ready. You move before you're prepared. Because forward movement physically, mentally, activates the circuits responsible for drive. In neuroscience, we call this the dopamine circuitry. But this isn't just about chemicals. It's about how behavior shapes belief. Every small action in the direction of your goals builds evidence that you are the kind of person who can change, who does persist, and eventually the identity follows the action. Finally, the people you surround yourself with literally regulate your nervous system. Your environment is not neutral. From a neurological perspective, your brain is constantly syncing with those around you. Mirror neurons, emotional contagion, even heart rate variability aligns with the people you spend time with. So if you're serious about perspective shifts, look around. Who are you modeling? Who are you emotionally calibrating to? Because proximity is not just influence, it's neurobiological absorption. Choose wisely. So the next time you feel stuck, uninspired, or uncertain, remember you're not waiting for the world to change. You're rewiring the way you see it. And that shift, however small, changes everything. Not just in thought, but in brain, body, and behavior. Imagine this for a moment. Your brain, this remarkable organ, is constantly processing information. And it doesn't distinguish between what's real and what you're vividly imagining. This means that every thought you have, every belief you hold, and every image you visualize is being processed by your brain as if it's actually happening. Let that sink in. If you're sitting there, ruminating on past mistakes or fearing a future failure, your body is reacting as if those things are occurring in real time. Your stress hormones spike, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up. It's not just a thought, it's a full body experience. On the flip side, when you imagine success, visualize growth, or think about how you'll overcome a challenge, your brain releases the chemicals and sets the neural pathways as if those things are already taking place. This isn't just positive thinking, it's biological. You are constantly teaching your brain what to expect from the world and how to respond to it. The power here is that if you can consciously direct your imagination, your thoughts, and your beliefs toward what you want, rather than what you fear, you're literally changing the wiring of your brain. Your mind and body begin to work together toward your goals, even before you've physically taken a single step. It's a powerful tool that we often overlook, but your mind is sculpting your biology with every thought you have. It's shaping your reality. When you understand this, you realize that your thoughts are not passive, they're actively creating the world you live in. And that, my friends, is where you can start to make real lasting change. One of the most powerful truths about the brain is that it's not fixed, it's adaptive. This idea of neuroplasticity means that no matter where you are in life, no matter what age you are, your brain is constantly changing. It's molding itself based on the experiences you have, the actions you take, and even the thoughts you think. You're never stuck. Your brain is not this static, unchangeable thing. It's a dynamic, fluid system, constantly adjusting to your environment and behaviors. This is a crucial perspective shift because it means that if you're not happy with where you are, if you feel like you've hit a wall, there's no need to despair. All it takes is the willingness to engage with new information, new habits, and new ways of thinking. It's easy to believe that if you've been doing something one way for a long time, it's impossible to change. But neuroplasticity tells us otherwise. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself. Every time you learn something new, you're building new connections, strengthening neural pathways. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you're literally forming new networks in your brain that allow you to think and act differently. And this is not just theory, it's science. People who change their routines, learn new skills, or adopt new mindsets create tangible changes in their brain structures that weren't there before. And with this understanding, you start to realize you have the power to be the architect of your own mind. You're not a prisoner to your past experiences. Every new day, every new thought is an opportunity to shift your brain's landscape. And when you do that, you don't just change your perspective, you change your entire potential. Here's something that can truly transform how you face the world. Perspective isn't just a mental exercise, it's physiological. How you perceive an event, how you interpret a challenge, changes the way your body responds to it. You might think of perspective as something abstract, something we talk about in philosophy or motivational talks, but it's deeply rooted in biology. The way you view the world directly impacts how your brain activates different systems in your body. When you see a challenge as an opportunity, your nervous system doesn't just stay calm, it becomes energized, focused, ready to perform at its highest level. But when you perceive that same challenge as a threat, your body responds in a completely different way. You release stress hormones, your heart rate increases, and you enter a fight or flight mode. Same event, different perspective, different outcome. What's even more interesting is that your brain is constantly making these adjustments, often without you realizing it. When you approach life with a mindset that welcomes growth, that's curious about failure, your brain prepares you to handle that challenge in a way that encourages learning and progress. On the other hand, when you interpret every obstacle as a personal attack or a sign of your limitations, your brain activates pathways related to fear and avoidance, shutting down the very systems that could help you grow. This is why perspective is not just a mindset, it's the lens through which your brain processes everything. It shapes how your neural circuits fire, how your hormones flow, and ultimately how you show up in the world. So changing your perspective doesn't just change your attitude, it rewires your entire biology. And with that, you begin to realize that the way you see the world is, in many ways, the world you will experience. Most people think of stress as something to avoid at all costs. It's seen as a negative force, something that should be eliminated from our lives in order to feel peaceful, successful, or fulfilled. But here's the twist. Stress isn't always the enemy. In fact, stress can be one of the most powerful tools for growth if we know how to interpret it. When you experience stress, your body is primed for action, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your senses sharpen, your body is getting ready to either fight or run. That's the ancient survival mechanism. But here's the thing, modern stress isn't always about life or death situations. It's often just a signal that you're outside your comfort zone, and that's where growth happens. What if we could reframe stress from something we fear into something we lean into? The greatest performers, athletes, top-tier executives, even high-stakes military personnel, don't try to eliminate stress. They learn to use it. They understand that stress doesn't have to break you down. It can build you up if you interpret it the right way. When you face stress with the mindset that it's an opportunity to activate your best self, your brain changes its response. Instead of the usual fight or flight reaction, your brain switches into challenge mode, where you are more focused, more alert, and better able to handle the task at hand. What's really fascinating is that the more you train your nervous system to view stress as a signal for readiness, the better your body gets at handling it. You don't just get used to it, you get better at using it. The research shows that the more you expose yourself to manageable stress and learn how to thrive in it, the more resilient you become. You build what's known as stress tolerance, and that's the kind of mental muscle that helps you weather life's toughest storms. So stress isn't something to run from. It's information, a cue that your body is preparing you to rise to the occasion. When you start seeing stress this way, it stops being a roadblock and starts being a stepping stone. And that perspective shift, it's a game changer. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they take action. They think that the spark of inspiration needs to come first before they can make a move. But here's the truth. Action precedes motivation. The way your brain works doesn't align with that conventional thinking. It's not about waiting for the stars to align and suddenly feeling ready. It's about doing the work first, and the motivation will follow. This is where the science of dopamine comes into play. Dopamine is often referred to as the motivation molecule. But here's the kicker. Dopamine isn't just released when you succeed, it's released when you act. The anticipation of progress, the simple act of making a move, triggers the brain's reward system and gives you a boost of motivation. When you sit and wait for the perfect moment to start, nothing happens. But when you take even the smallest step forward, whether that's writing one sentence, making one phone call, or taking a 5-minute walk, your brain lights up. And what's fascinating is that every small action, no matter how seemingly insignificant, activates this reward system and begins to wire your brain for more action. So instead of relying on motivation to start, you create your own motivation through the process of action itself. It's the feedback loop. The more you act, the more dopamine you release, and the more motivated you feel to keep going. This is why high achievers don't wait for the right feeling to come. They know that the feeling comes after the work. And this isn't just a mental hack, it's a physiological truth. The very act of moving forward triggers the brain's circuitry for progress, propelling you to keep going. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start now, and let your actions drive your motivation. There's a profound truth that most people overlook. You become what you repeatedly do. It's easy to think that we are who we think we are, or who we want to be. But the reality is that our identity is shaped by our actions, by the behaviors we engage in and day out. Your brain is incredibly efficient at forming neural circuits based on repetition. Every time you take an action, whether it's writing a few words, exercising, or even just making a choice, you're reinforcing a neural pathway that makes it easier to do that action again in the future. And over time, those repeated actions become part of your identity. It's not just a matter of choosing what you want to be, it's about consistently choosing who you want to become through your daily habits. The more you repeat a behavior, the stronger the neural networks associated with that behavior become. So if you repeatedly act with discipline, focus, and purpose, those qualities start to define you, not just in thought, but in neural structure. Your brain builds the wiring for those behaviors to become more automatic, ingrained in your personality. And the opposite is also true. If you repeatedly avoid challenges, procrastinate, or engage in negative self-talk, your brain strengthens those patterns, making them harder to break. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. So whether you realize it or not, every small decision is crafting your identity. If you want to become a more confident, resilient, or disciplined person, it's not about wishing for it. It's about embodying those qualities every single day, through your actions. Because your brain doesn't differentiate between thought and action in the long term. Repeated action is the blueprint for who you ultimately become. And that's a power you can harness, starting right now. One of the most underestimated forces in shaping your behavior, mindset, and even your biology, is the people you surround yourself with. Your environment, especially the people in it, plays a pivotal role in how your brain responds to the world. This isn't just a social or psychological fact, it's biological. The human brain is wired for connection, and it's constantly syncing up with those around you. The concept of mirror neurons explains how we unconsciously mimic the emotions, behaviors, and even heart rate of those near us. When you're with people who are calm, composed, and focused, your brain aligns with that state. When you're surrounded by negativity, anxiety, or people who live in a state of constant stress, your brain mirrors that too. This is why the people in your life have such a profound impact on your mental health, your productivity, and your outlook on life. Now think about this for a moment. Every time you engage with someone, your body is absorbing and processing their emotional state. That's why it's so important to be selective about who you spend time with. The more you expose yourself to individuals who uplift you, who challenge you in constructive ways, and who encourage growth, the more your brain and nervous system align with those positive states. And on the flip side, if you're consistently around people who drain your energy, reinforce limiting beliefs, or project negativity, your own stress systems become more active. It's not just a matter of feeling bad when you're around toxic people, it's literally affecting your neurochemistry. This alignment happens automatically. Your body, your emotions, and even your brainwaves sync with those closest to you. That's why, when you're around people who encourage resilience, success, and growth, it becomes easier for you to embody those same qualities. You start to calibrate to the best versions of yourself, naturally, and this is more than just motivational talk. Studies have shown that social influence, whether positive or negative, literally changes the way your brain responds to stress, to challenges, and to success. So take a look at the people in your life. Who are you calibrating to? Because the people you allow into your environment aren't just influencing your mood, they're influencing your brain, your future, and your potential. Choose wisely, because that social environment can be a powerful force for growth, or it can keep you stuck. Most people run from discomfort. They view it as a sign that something is wrong, or that they should retreat and avoid it. But what if I told you that discomfort is actually a training ground for resilience? It's easy to look at moments of struggle, stress, or failure as setbacks, but in reality, they're opportunities for growth if you choose to approach them the right way. Every time you step into a situation that challenges you, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, you are conditioning your brain and body to handle more, to handle harder, and to perform better. Discomfort isn't a signal to stop, it's a signal that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're expanding your capacity. When you face discomfort, your brain enters a state of heightened awareness, making connections, building strategies, and adapting to the challenge. That's neuroplasticity at work. The more you lean into that discomfort, the more your brain and nervous system learn to tolerate and manage it. But the key here is leaning in, not avoiding, because every time you shy away from discomfort, you reinforce the neural pathways that say, this is something to be feared, or this is something I can't handle. But when you engage with discomfort, you activate a different set of circuits, the ones that say, I am capable of this, I can handle this, I am stronger than I realize. The more you practice this, the more your brain begins to automatically shift its perception of discomfort. It stops being something that debilitates you and starts becoming something that drives you forward. You begin to reframe discomfort as a challenge, a signal that you're evolving. It's like lifting weights for your mind and body. At first it feels impossible, the strain is overwhelming. But over time you adapt, your muscles grow stronger, your resilience deepens, and this is how you become more than you were. The things that used to seem impossible start to become your new normal, because you've trained your brain to face them, not fear them. So the next time discomfort shows up, don't run from it. Don't let it stop you. Embrace it, because that's where growth happens. That's where strength is forged. It's through the most challenging moments that we unlock our greatest potential, and in those moments, your brain is rewriting its own software, creating the version of yourself that is more resilient, more capable, and more unstoppable than ever before. When you're focused on making change in your life, it can feel overwhelming, like you're trying to climb a mountain all at once. But here's a crucial lesson that can completely shift how you approach growth. Small shifts create massive compounding results. Most people think they need to make radical, overnight transformations to see any real change. They want quick fixes or big breakthroughs. But in reality, change happens gradually, and it's the accumulation of small, consistent efforts that creates the biggest impact over time. Think of it as the power of compound interest. Just like money grows exponentially with small regular deposits, the actions you take every day, no matter how minor they seem, compound and build into something far greater. Your brain is wired for progress, but the key is to stay consistent. Every time you make a small improvement, even if it's just 1%, you're activating neural circuits that strengthen over time. At first it might seem insignificant, a small step toward your goal, a small habit formed, a small mindset shift, but when you keep stacking these small actions, they snowball. Over weeks, months, and years, that consistent effort adds up and creates a massive transformation. What's powerful is that as you build momentum, the changes become easier. It's like laying down tracks. Each small action creates a pathway for your brain to follow, making the next step that much easier. The brain is designed to follow the path of least resistance, so as you create these tiny habits, they begin to feel more automatic, and eventually they're second nature. This process of compounding results isn't just about external achievements, it's about internal growth. Each time you challenge yourself, you create a little more capacity for handling stress, for building resilience, for improving your focus. It's a cumulative effect on your mental and emotional systems that transforms you from the inside out. So when you feel like you're not seeing immediate results, or that your progress is too slow, remember the smallest shift today leads to a massive change tomorrow. The key isn't to wait for the big breakthrough, it's to keep making those small, consistent efforts that over time will lead you to unimaginable growth. Your future self will thank you for the effort you put in today, even if it seems small in the moment. Every step forward is progress, and that progress compounds until you're living a completely transformed reality. Your perception is one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal. It's not just a way of looking at the world, it's the lens through which your brain and body experience reality. How you perceive something determines how you respond to it, how you process it, and ultimately, how you act. If you believe that failure is a reflection of your personal limitations, your brain will wire itself to avoid situations that challenge you, and your stress response will become overactive. But if you shift your perception and see failure as feedback, as a necessary part of the learning process, your brain will rewire itself to embrace challenge, to take risks, and to learn from mistakes. The difference between those who thrive and those who stay stuck often comes down to how they interpret the world around them. This shift in perception isn't just a mental trick, it's a biological change. When you alter the way you view something, you change the neural pathways that respond to it. The brain operates on the principle of prediction. If you believe you're likely to fail, your brain will make predictions based on that belief, and your actions will align with it. But when you start to view challenges, discomfort, and setbacks as opportunities for growth, your brain recalibrates. It starts to predict success, problem solving, and progress. This shift doesn't just change how you think, it changes your body's chemistry. It lowers your stress levels, improves your focus, and boosts your resilience. The most successful people in life are often those who have mastered the art of perception. They don't see obstacles as roadblocks, they see them as stepping stones. They understand that how they view a situation directly impacts how their brain responds and how their body reacts. They have learned to change their perception in real time, adjusting their mindset to create positive outcomes, no matter what the external situation might be. And this is something you can do too. When you start seeing every challenge as a learning opportunity, every moment of discomfort as a chance to grow, you begin to rewire your brain for success. You start to unlock a new version of yourself, one that isn't held back by fear or doubt, but one that steps forward with confidence, knowing that every experience, good or bad, is part of the journey to becoming the person you were always meant to be. So the next time you face a setback, pause and ask yourself, how am I perceiving this? Because how you perceive it will determine how you respond, and that response will ultimately shape your reality.